Good morning. It is 9:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Get a water filtration system at betterwater.com. Thank you for listening or watching, no matter how you are, whether you're on the FM dial, the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, the 99.7 WTN app, whether you're watching on Super Talk TV. You can see our beautiful, fabulous, renovated studios here down on Music Row on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. If you're on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I think it would be up here or down here. It's somewhere. Like and subscribe. It helps me feed my kids. You wouldn't want my kids to go hungry, would you? Would you? Like and subscribe on YouTube. I'll guilt you into it if I have to. All right? I will. I have no problem doing that. We begin today on the southern border. It's getting crazy, and the media hysteria really accentuates all of that. You know, Nicole Wallace over on MSNBC, she was looking at the camera, and she's so sad. She's, elections have consequences. Yeah, they do. They sure do. But the surprise that the mainstream media has that deportation operations are ramping up, the surprise that mainstream media has that we're actually securing our southern border, be it with military and resources and razor wire, and we're building the wall against it seems lost on them that all of this was promised beforehand. Elections do have consequences.
As we come on the air, the old saying, elections have consequences, is playing out in very real time, in a very real way in cities all across our country, as the Trump administration makes good on one of Trump's most controversial campaign promises, a promise that was immortalized in that sea of signs at the Republican National Convention. Mass deportations now. 1 week into Trump's second term, it's no longer an abstract idea or controversial campaign promise or even a convention sign. The deportations are underway.
Oh, and they're so sad about it. I will say this. I think they're going too slow. I think the numbers are too low, and I feel like they're rookie numbers, and we have to get the numbers up. Obama deported 5.3 million people over his administration. And if you believe what the Washington Post said yesterday, we talked about on the show, that the quota that's being sent out is 1,500 deportations a day. That's criminally low. That's 550,000 a year. They're rookie numbers right now. If you think it's bad now, wait until we get 6 months from now, and you'll see how the media is reacting. It's going to be a sight for sore eyes. Now, the media and the Democrats are already trying to shape this narrative that Tom Homan and ICE and the Trump administration are barging into schools and ripping kids away from their moms and dads, and it's heartbreaking. We had Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois pushing a fake narrative that ICE agents went to a public school in Chicago, a middle school, if I recall correctly. He was tweeting about it. Oh, this can't be happening. What are we doing? Except for the fact that it was all a lie. It was Secret Service agents, and there was a threat at the school. Tom Homan is going on record now demanding an apology from J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, because of that tweet, because of the lies that he's pushing. You know, and they need to apologize. Because, honestly, you're making these kids unrealistically scared, right? The only reason they're going to go into a school or a church is if there's a violent offender in there. At which point, I would like to ask the parents of kids at that school, would you rather they leave the violent offender in there? Is that the better option? Of course not. Of course not. It would make no sense. You know, we're talking a lot about school safety here in Nashville these past couple weeks. If you knew there was a violent offender in there, illegal or not, would you want that violent offender to remain in the school? Of course not. Of course not. So when J.B. Pritzker pushes this hoax, it's a bit of a fabrication, and he does need to give an apology. Not just to Tom Homan and to ICE, but to the families that are there that are now biting their nails and freaking out. Like, just everybody chill out.
So something crazy happened in Chicago at the end of last week. 2 Secret Service agents went to a local elementary school because they were running down a threat that was made on TikTok. They identified themselves to the school principal. They even left cards saying, look, if you want to get back to us, here's how you get back to us.
Let's underline that point. So when the Secret Service agents walked into the school, they said, we're Secret Service agents. Here's our card. Okay? Okay. I just want to make sure everybody, if you're paying attention in the back of the class, if you're Van Gogh listening, that was outlined from the moment they walked into the school.
Suddenly, the story became that it was ICE agents who went to this school, Tom. And Pedro Martinez, the Chicago Public Schools CEO, said this. Listen here.
We had individuals that came to one of our schools, Hamline Elementary School, that presented credentials and shared that they were from ICE. And so our staff followed the protocols. We're very clear. We've been training our principals, our security guards, any front office staff to making sure that they know that we are not to share any information with anybody from the Immigration Department or ICE.
So Pedro Martinez, not to be confused with legendary Boston Red Sox pitcher, Pedro Martinez, the CEO of Chicago Public Schools, then goes on MSNBC and continues the hoax. They identified themselves as ICE, except they didn't. That's a lie. And now the lie is going even past the people in your school district, but to the entire American public. You know, this the same way J.B. Pritzker did with his tweet. Okay. This is the game that they're playing.
So not only did the CEO of Chicago Public Schools pass off misinformation about U.S. Secret Service agents who were interpreted to be ICE, but listen to what J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, said after that. After a week of Republicans sowing fear and chaos, the first reports of raids in Chicago are at an elementary school. Targeting children and separating families is cruel and un-American.
Do you remember when misinformation and disinformation was the biggest threat to democracy, and the left told us we have to do whatever we can to stop misinformation and disinformation, except when it helps them push a narrative, right?
To be clear again, these were Secret Service agents running down a threat that was made on TikTok. They were not ICE agents.
Nope.
ICE never went near that school. What do you say to Pedro Martinez and the governor of Illinois, who appear to be not only sowing information, but fear?
Well, Pedro Martinez lied. He lied to the city of Chicago because he knew it was Secret Service agents, because I talked to the people involved. They left their credentials. He knew exactly who were there, so he lied. Again, sowing fear in the immigrant community. And Governor Pritzker, rather than calling ICE and asking us, did this happen or did it not happen, he goes on social media and terrifies the elementary schools that ICE agents are walking in there.
You know, this is the thing that I was saying. It's like you're making these kids unnecessarily afraid. This is what the left does all the time, right? We've talked about it ad nauseum. You know, the CNN on the lead up to the election, they had a panel, and there was a trans kid on the panel. He said, "I'm afraid of walking down the street. I'm going to be murdered for being trans." It's like, no. Just stop, relax, get some help. And they're doing it again with now this new narrative of ICE is kicking down doors at your local elementary school.
No, he accuses me of terrifying the community. No, he terrified the community. He terrified the children. Yep. You know what ICE did yesterday? They saved children. We arrested 9 sexual predators, many of them child sex predators. We saved children. ICE saved children. We're not going to schools and scaring the hell out of them. Governor Pritzker deserves, he needs to give ICE an apology. What he did was just plain wrong, and by doing that, he put fear in the community that shouldn't have to be there. Children shouldn't have to fear ICE agents walking into an elementary school to arrest them.
Yeah, honestly, but I'll be the skeleton in the rocking chair as we wait for the apology from Governor J.B. Pritzker. It's never going to come. It's never going to come. And what Tom Homan says is absolutely right. We're actually keeping kids safe. You see, these violent offenders that they're arresting are raping kids. They're selling kids into sex slavery. It's the ICE agents that they're trying to make the kids afraid of. It's backwards. It should be criminal. Should be criminal. And you know what? I think a lot of these Democrats are going to be held to account very, very soon. Starting with some of the mayors of these sanctuary cities. I don't know if you saw this, but Congress has actually summoned mayors of prominent sanctuary cities to come into Congress and testify. Answer to their sanctuary city policies. So this is going to happen on February 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern. So 9 a.m. our time, okay? And circle that date on your calendar. It's going to be the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston. It's going to be the New York City mayor, Eric Adams. It's going to be the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson. And it's going to be the Boston mayor, Michelle Wu, who is famous for her No Whites Allowed Christmas party. And they all got a letter. They all got a letter from the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. The Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating sanctuary jurisdictions across the United States and their impact on public safety and the effectiveness of federal efforts to enforce the immigration laws of the United States. Sanctuary jurisdictions and their misguided and obstructionist policies hinder the ability of federal law enforcement officers to effectuate safe arrests and remove dangerous criminals from American communities, making Americans less safe. Denver is a sanctuary jurisdiction that refuses to fully cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. To provide much-needed oversight of this matter, the committee requests the documents and information related to the sanctuary policies of Denver. Committee requests documents and information and we invite you to testify to a public hearing before the committee on February 11th. And then this letter is then replicated with Denver taken out and Boston put in, Johnson taken out, Wu put in, and so on for the other mayors. That's going to happen on February 11th. They're going to have to answer for their policies. They're going to have to answer for this. And I hope that some of these Democrats get held accountable. I hope some of these celebrities get held accountable too. You know, we were talking on the cross with Mandis about Selena Gomez and her crocodile tears as she's so sad. She's so sad about her people. And she posted this video on Instagram, which she quickly deleted after being roasted in the comments, mind you. She knew she'd done goofed. But it says, I'm sorry, with a little Mexican flag. And she's crying. She's sobbing uncontrollably. And I wonder if she's watching any of the videos on these ICE raids, because they're not just going after Mexicans. Duh. I saw a video. It was Dr. Phil and Tom Homan in Chicago arresting a guy from Thailand who had been accused of sexually assaulting kids. No, she's crying. She's sobbing. She's just so broken up about it.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children.
The children. I don't even want to play any more of that. Somebody think of the children. Tom Homan's thinking of the children. The ones that are being sex trafficked in this country. $billion-dollar industry, thanks to the wide open borders that the Democrats facilitated. $1 billion. Yeah, we're thinking about the kids. We're thinking about the kids. These celebrities are not. Someone think of the children. Okay. What about all those missing kids? Where is your energy for that? What about Jocelyn Nungary, 12-year-old girl who was raped and then murdered by 2 illegal aliens? We got the same energy for that? Will somebody think of the children? Honestly? Tom Homan and ICE are keeping kids safe. This stuff is ridiculous. The crocodile tears. The cry fishing, as Dan put it. It's insanity. And it's got to stop. Also, Selena Gomez, spoiler alert, nobody cares what you think. No one. I only played this to roast you, to be perfectly honest. You're an idiot. And a large portion of Hollywood are idiots like this as well. Oh, the children. Okay. Were you sobbing uncontrollably when a baby was crawling around at an Airbnb in Florida and came in contact with fentanyl that came across our southern border and subsequently died? No? Oh, weird. Tom Homan actually responded to Selena Gomez yesterday on Fox News, and he doesn't seem to care much about what Selena Gomez thinks at all.
Respond to that.
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. And look, President Trump won the election on this one issue, securing our border and saving lives. What happened on our southern border last 4 years is the biggest national security threat this country's seen, at least in my lifetime, because we got over 2 million known gotaways. We got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We got a record number of terrorists crossing the border on the terrorist watch list. We have 250,000 Americans dying from fentanyl coming across the open border. We're going to do this job, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country. If they don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operational apology. We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
No apologies, says Tom Homan. No apologies. Thank you, Tom. He's absolutely based. And it seems like it's heating up on the southern border. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Flights being diverted around Mexican airspace. Cartels firing on U.S. agents. What? Are they asking for an ass kicking? I think maybe. We'll talk about it when we return. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Antioch High School students holding signs and chanting in front of the school. This is their first day back after a shooting. Also, the Trump administration has just put a hold on all federal grants and loans. We'll tell you what's behind that action. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. Looking forward to the news as always. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. BetterWater.com for your water filter. Talk to those guys. They'll help you out. So the border wars, should we call them the border wars? Feels like it's going to start to be the border wars. It seems like we're fighting that war on a couple fronts, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure, yeah.
We got the media on one side, we got the Democrats on another, and then we actually have the cartels. The cartels are on another side.
Aren't those terrorist groups?
They are.
They're terrorist groups.
So we got terrorists on the other side. And the Mexican cartel terrorists, well, they've opened fire on U.S. agents in Texas near the border. Several Border Patrol agents conducting surveillance enforcement activities in Texas came under fire from suspected Mexican drug cartel operatives early Monday afternoon. I think this is one of those F around and find out situations, is it not? I think it is. And I think if they want to F around, they should find out. Rio Grande Valley Sector Border Patrol agents exchanged gunfire with cartel terrorist members and sought cover as reinforcements were summoned. The agents did not sustain injuries by the grace of God during the initial exchange of gunfire. However, they said the incident was still unfolding. There was an update later last night that said DPS officials report that state law enforcement resources have withdrawn from the scene. Mexican sources also report that Army and State Guard troops withdrew from the south side of the river. Officials indicate no arrests have been made. Border Patrol officials had no comment regarding their current status on the matter. But here's the deal. It's only going to get more dangerous on this southern border as these cartels are realizing that their profit margins are being a bit squeezed. They understand this, and so they're getting a bit angry. They're getting a little pissed off. Bill Malhusian was out there documenting everything that he's seeing, and his reports have been fantastic on the border for a long time, and they continue today.
River, yards from U.S. soil, cartel gunmen stroll along the riverbank, armed with rifles. They control the border in Mexico. Some aim AK-47s at Texas DPS helicopters. Others go to war with each other, with Texas DPS thermal drone video showing cartels throwing explosives at each other during a battle for control of the area.
All the activity that's been happening, all the violence that's been taking place right across the river within several hundred yards from where we're at right now.
Texas DPS's Lieutenant Chris Olivares tells Fox in October, Texas had enough. The state declared Fronten Island Texas property and began bulldozing it. All of it. Brush was cleared, razor wire was deployed, and the area was fortified. This is what it looks like now. A 171-acre barren landscape now secured by Texas, with Texas troopers on patrol and Texas National Guard soldiers deployed with loaded weapons.
And we're going to need more. This is just the beginning. We're going to need to ramp this up, and we're going to need more. The situation is volatile, to say the least, and it's going to get more dangerous. And then where do we draw the line? Does an American have to die at the hands of the cartels before we say enough is enough? I said this on the lead up to the election. You want me to support a war? That's a war I'll support. Let's go take out the cartels. They have killed countless Americans via the fentanyl poison that they're shipping into this country. They're now opening fire on U.S. agents across the border. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I think that we need to take swift and decisive action. Lord willing, Donald Trump does. We got a lot more on the other side. The View figured out what's going on with all this. It's racism. It's
Of course it is.
It's racism. So we'll play you why it's racism when we return, because obviously it's racism.
Good morning. It's 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Some Antioch High School students skipped classes on the first day back after a shooting to protest for more safety measures. This student spoke to Channel 4. Her advice for parents:
make sure that you have your guns put away. Say I love you to your children before, they go to school in the morning or work. It doesn't matter. Just tell your children that you love them, you know, because you never know when it's going to be your last time saying that.
Metro Nashville Public School District installed a borrowed weapons detection system at Antioch High School, but that system has a spotty track record for detecting weapons. Some of those students also protested at the state capitol yesterday to gain the attention of lawmakers gathered there for a special session. Representative Scott Sapicki tells Dan Mandes that the protests were noisy but not overwhelming.
No, not at all. That they have a right to come up here and voice their opinion. That's the First Amendment. We want to make sure that we get to the bottom of exactly what happened at Antioch and see if there were things that maybe contributed to this happening through the school district.
Sapicki and other lawmakers are considering a school voucher bill, among other things, during that session. The Trump administration announced a sweeping freeze on all federal grants, those funds already approved by Congress. The administration saying it's a temporary pause and it could have some big consequences.
In a memo describing this, was obtained by ABC News, the White House Budget Office has ordered all federal agencies to cease any financial assistance if they believe the program might conflict with President Trump's executive orders. The directive is not specific, but it's clearly far-reaching. It says, quote, this memorandum requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs and supporting activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements.
ABC's Jonathan Carl. The directive, however, says Social Security and Medicare are not included. They will continue to function as they are now. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. It's 9:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee HVAC. These guys are the best. And I don't know about you. I got my electric bill and I was like, whoa, what? This is crazy. And maybe you've been running your heat a lot too and you're feeling the same way. Maybe you don't have the most energy efficient model. Maybe you need to call Busy Bee HVAC and get an upgrade. Well, how about this? Any HVAC replacement is going to come with a complimentary smart thermostat. That's a $200 value all month long. That's huge in controlling your comfort from anywhere and maximizing that energy saving. Also, they got a ton of deals, like a free air duct cleaning package upgrade. You buy that middle package, you get upgraded to the premium package for free. Or how about a free furnace checkup with any heating repair service? These are the deals that are brought to you by Busy Bee HVAC with their more than satisfied promise. You got to call them today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
I've also deployed troops to the border, and for the first time in history, we're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. And very importantly, America is respected again. We're respected again. Isn't that nice? You know, after years of laughing at us like we're stupid people. And as you saw yesterday, we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal aliens coming from their countries. We're taking them back, and they're going to take them back fast. And if they don't, they'll pay a very high economic price.
That's Donald Trump yesterday speaking at the Congressional Institute. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com for your water filtration system. I love that he's speaking once again. This guy has not stopped in however many days he's been president. It feels like he's been president a lot longer than a little over a week. But he keeps going. This guy's the Energizer Bunny. He doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. We're respected again. He said, as you saw yesterday, referring to what happened with the president of Colombia, Petro Gustavo. Yeah. They effed around. They found out. And now, as Trump says, for the first time in history, we're loading up illegal aliens on military planes and sending them back home. We are. We're sending them back home. I have seen some reports, though, that these flights that the U.S. military has sending illegals back home are being diverted around Mexican airspace. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Why? Why would you divert them around Mexican airspace? Well, rumor has it that they're going around Mexican airspace to avoid missiles. What? What's that you say? Missiles? How did the cartel get missiles? Well, the internet says it's they got some anti-air missiles from Ukraine. Huh? Weird. So there's threats, alleged intelligence that Mexican cartels have threatened to shoot down military repatriation flights. And if the rumors are proved to be true, it could be with the anti-aircraft artillery that we sent to Ukraine. So once again, we'd be funding both sides of a war. Weird how that works. Now, I've only seen it from a few sources. Chuck Callesto is one of those guys on X, and he seems to be right a good portion of the time, but we'll wait and see if there's any official word. But you can look at the flight patterns, and they're absolutely going around Mexico, 100%. We'll find out in due time how real those threats are. I hope we don't find out the hard way, because then Mexico's going to find out the hard way, and that U.S. military presence is going to be beefed up. But we're sending them back home, whether they like it or not. The View has a bit of an issue with this. The View seems to think that this is all because of racism, and Sunny Hostin. That's the point she was trying to make yesterday.
You know, to answer your question, which is this the immigration fix that this country wanted? Mm-hmm. I think absolutely there are certain people that wanted to see this kind of pain and destruction for a certain group or type of immigrant. Oh.
Actually, what she missed in her notes is that a majority of the American people want to see these deportations happen, including legal immigrants. We've had many legal immigrants call into the show, and those are among the most annoyed at what has happened and transpired over the Biden administration with the wide open southern border. They're cutting people in line. It's not okay. Now, even take the violent gang members out. If you came in illegally, you're going to have to go home. You're not here permanently. Deal with it. Sunny Hostin wants to make this about race. Okay.
Because if you look at the numbers, yes, the number of immigrants that come from Mexico or Mexican-born are the largest. But the next largest are Asians. 28% of them come. I don't think they walk across the southern border.
Actually, they do. This woman's such an idiot. Actually, there's a whole way that you can find maps on WhatsApp and TikTok and get your way up from anywhere in South America right up through Mexico. In fact, there's hotels in Colombia in Colombia, where everything is in Mandarin. I don't think that they're doing that for the Colombians. You know, that would be for the Asians, the Chinese.
I think they come by plane.
Well, they fly to South America, and they walk across.
The next largest are Europeans. I don't think they walk either. I'm just saying immigrants, right?
Oh, not undocumented, though.
A lot of them are undocumented, actually.
But that's not the stat for being the
But a lot
Asians
of
are
them
the
come by
second
plane
most.
and then overstay their visas. They overstay their visas. They overstay their visas, so they're undocumented. The Europeans that come here that overstay their visas are undocumented, but they don't come across the southern border. So I think there's a very clear message as to what this president wants the look of a criminal migrant to look like, what an undocumented migrant. And I think that's racist.
Oh, okay. This president knows what he wants an illegal alien to look like, and that's racism. Okay. I've seen countless videos where it's Venezuelans being arrested, Tren de Aragua being arrested. I saw a guy from Thailand being arrested. In fact, just this morning on X, you got videos of 40 illegal Chinese that were packed into 2 separate vans being apprehended.
Very heavy police presence in Coral Gables. Specifically, we are looking at Old Cutler Road and Kendall Drive.
Let's get right to 7 Stephen J. Gray above and 7 Skyforce with what we know so far. Stephen.
Good morning, Tavares. Good morning, Olivia. Yeah, we've got a report of up to 40 migrants in 2 separate vans here. This is Old Cutler Road northbound here near Kendall Drive. We've got Coral Gables police on scene, and we're getting word that possibly 40 Chinese migrants have pretty much been pulled over in these vans. You can see through the trees here that the migrants are sitting down. Everything's pretty much under control. Everybody's being good. But once again, the 40 folks in 2 separate vans. Those vans must have been jam-packed right here in Coral Gables. I'm sure they're going to wait for a bigger vehicle to transport the migrants to wherever they've got to take them to. You can see this van is actually facing the wrong way on the road here. So I'm wondering if that was one of the reasons why they stood out.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not can't drive the wrong way down on one way. Yeah, but hey, you know these immigrants are enriching our communities. But Sonny Austin says no, it's all racism. I think it's equal opportunity, honestly. And she has an issue that it's not Europeans. Okay. The moment that Europeans overstaying their visas are taking over apartment complexes and poisoning American with fentanyls, you let me know. By all means.
Let me also say that, in my view, he has circumvented established law by weaponizing the U.S. military.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Generally, before being deported, you have an asylum case pending in front of a court, and you must appear in front of that judge. Right now, there are 3 million asylum cases and 900 judges. That is why the bipartisan bill that was going to be passed addressed that particular issue. Instead of dealing with it legally in that way, and I'm not saying he's doing it illegally, what he did was declared a national emergency that qualifies as a foreign invasion.
Yeah, and I love how she prefaces, I'm not saying he did it illegally. Yeah, she doesn't want to come back from commercial break and have to read another legal disclaimer, right? As they often have to on The View. No, nothing that the president is doing is illegal. Deal with it, libs. It's a tough pill to swallow. I understand. I understand that you're having a tough time with all this. I understand that the news has you riled up and Orange Man bad and all the things. Deal with it. These people that are here illegally have to go home. Tom Homan was asked, is the president happy with your progress? You know, and I think that's a good question to ask, because that's what we want to know. What is the progress, and are you guys making a dent?
Is the president happy with this progress?
No, I think the president's happy, but we're going to make him a lot happier. Yesterday was just day one, and these raids are going to go out throughout the country. We're not going to let up. We put our foot on the gas, and we're going to go. And as I explained to several stations yesterday, that aperture can continue to grow. Right now, we're concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats, but as we open up that aperture, looking for fugitives, those who had due process at great taxpayer expense, there's over 1 million of them, 1.4 million, they're on the table. Anybody in the country illegally, they're on the table, but we're going to go after them in a prioritization that makes sense. The worst first.
Yeah, and that does make sense. That's what we need to do. 100%. Go after the worst first, and then we'll deal with everybody else after the fact, right? Like that's what we need to do. But if you're here illegally, you are 100% on the table. We had a guy call in, and you know, I felt for the guy. I did. But he said my ex-wife was an illegal alien, and she never did her paperwork. What's going to happen to her? And my advice was tell her to go home now and start the paperwork process. It's going to be a lot more difficult if you wait and you have ICE send you home. Honestly. Self-deport. If you're worried about it right now, it's time to self-deport and get yourself in that line so you can come back the legal way. Do it before we make you do it. That would be my best advice. And I don't think there's going to be any special rules. I don't think there's going to be any special exceptions. We're not going to let you slide if you're from Switzerland, like Sonny Hostin thinks. If you're a European, you're from France, and you're here illegally, you're going to have to go home. If you're from Guatemala here illegally, you're going to have to go home. Equal opportunity. Merit-based, right? If you came across illegally, you got to go home. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I don't know how it could be any more simple. President Trump was talking about this at the Congressional Institute yesterday. He had a lot more to say, and he actually doesn't want to just deport illegal aliens. Whoa. He wants to expand it. All right. I'm listening. I'm all ears. I'll play it for you next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and you hear us talking about the guys at Better Water LLC a lot. They're a sponsor of the show. They're fearless. They're God-loving Christians, and they're good people. If you need a water filtration system in your home, talk to Craig and Brandy today. They'll get you set up, whether you need it at your house or your office. And if you're not sure you need it, they'll test your water for free. You might want it to be tested, okay? Because you don't really know what's in there. It could be anything. Sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, E. coli. And they can get all of that out of your water. They offer a full range of water treatment equipment, from reverse osmosis units to water softeners to specialized filters to UV lights, you name it. They're going to clean up your water. It's going to taste great. And then you're never going to have that wonder in the back of your mind of, am I bathing my baby in clean water? At least get the water tested for the peace of mind. Give Better Water LLC a call today, 615-355-6063, just for that peace of mind at the very least. They'll come and test your water for free. 615-355-6063 or betterwater.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Support for installing a metal detection system at Nashville schools is growing. And federal agents performing an early morning raid in the Bronx as the feds root out foreign gang members. We've got those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And I don't want to spoil your story, but Kristi Noem in full gear.
Oh, yeah.
Solid.
She called them dirtbags.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We need to bring back cops, except just ICE.
Oh, that'd be a cool show.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I'd be in bed. What do they call them?
Embedded?
Embedded. I would embed with ICE to go do that.
Yeah, I would sign up.
Wouldn't that be cool?
An ICE ride along. Let's see who we catch today. President Trump doesn't want to just deport illegal aliens. He actually made this comment yesterday at the Congressional Institute when he was speaking. He also talked about maybe could we deport our own violent reoffenders that are American citizens as well.
They're very dangerous people. They're violent people. I used to say these are more violent than our criminals. In fact, the best part about them is they make our criminals look quite nice, actually, by comparison. They are very violent people. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally, but have been arrested 30 times, 35 times, 41, 42 times in a couple of cases, 25 times, 18 times. Many for murder and other heinous charges, such as pushing people into subways. As the train's coming along at 45 miles an hour, boom, you get pushed into the subway. They had it last week. Hitting them in the head with baseball bats while they're not looking. Punching old ladies in the face, knocking them unconscious and stealing their purse. They even break into apartments and rape elderly women and beat up elderly men, beat them to hell. And I don't want these violent repeat offenders in our country any more than I want illegal aliens from other countries who misbehave.
So would you support deporting reoffenders in America? 615-737-9986. There's actually a long storied history of this. You know, we actually were taking a lot of Britain's prisoners from about 1700 to 1775. We took about 30,000 felons and convicts from Britain, and we took them into America. They would then go work for Southerners. We used to do it. Australia, famous prison island. Would you be up for that? I would support that, especially for the lunatics. And you think about what that would mean as a deterrent. Like, you're not going to federal prison with 3 hots and a cot. You're going to Rwanda. Like, I think people might rethink reoffending in that case.
And I say, and this is subject to getting it approved, but if they've been arrested many, many times, they're repeat offenders by many numbers, I want them out of our country. I also will be seeking permission to do so. We're going to get approval, hopefully, to get them the hell out of our country along with others. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee, as opposed to being maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. Now, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it.
Make prison islands great again, 2025. Sign me up. Sign me up. I don't know. I can't find a flaw. Can you? It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Antioch High Schools greeted students with a new, however borrowed, weapons detection system as they return to class for the first time since a shooting last week. Some parents, students, and lawmakers, however, say nothing works as well at detecting weapons as a metal detector. Tennessee State Representative Scott Sapicki tells Dan Mandis that metal detectors are better than ever.
If you accidentally leave a ring on or you leave a coin in your pocket, it picks it up right away. I think that's the kind of technology that we should be using in our schools.
In the meantime, the company that makes the new system that's being used at Antioch High, Evolve, has just settled with the federal government, and now it's allowing schools with contracts to back out of the contracts. The federal government accused Evolve of making false claims about what its detectors can do and how well its scanners can detect weapons. Evolve has just laid off 14% of its staff. That's about 40 employees. There is a third healing vigil that'll be held tonight for the Antioch High School community. It's being held at Mount Gilead Missionary Baptist Church in Hermitage. There'll be a tribute to Jocelyn Escalante, the girl who was killed in last week's shooting, and mental health support will also be available. Federal agents raided an apartment in the Bronx, arresting at least one man with a long criminal record early this morning. ABC's Aaron Katersky says new Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was on hand for that arrest.
The individual taken into custody in the Bronx is facing kidnapping, assault, and burglary charges in connection with a home invasion at an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado last month that police blamed on a Venezuelan gang.
And breaking news this morning, Democrat Senator Gary Peters of Michigan announcing he will not seek re-election in the midterms next year. It leaves open a Senate seat in a key battleground state that President Trump won in November. His was one of three seats the GOP was targeting in the 2026 midterms in an effort to expand the Republican majority in the Senate. I want to let you know, too, that there is a big problem this morning on 24, the eastbound lanes. It's just past Sam Ridley Parkway, exit 66. They're doing a milling and paving project there, and they blocked off two right lanes. It's a mess in that area. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com for your water filtration system. We're broadcasting in our brand new renovated studios down here on Music Row. And if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Super Talk TV, I appreciate you. If you're on the YouTube channel especially, hit the like button, hit subscribe, help us out. It'll put food in my kids' mouths. You wouldn't want them to go hungry, would you? Would you? Sorry. I don't know. Sometimes I just do stuff that makes me laugh. And I don't know if it makes anybody else laugh, but it makes me laugh. They're fed. Don't worry. I promise.
It's great.
You don't want them just focusing on bread and water, do you?
No.
Let's get these kids some veggies. Hit like and subscribe.
Wait, what kind of water are they drinking? Is that filtered water?
It is. It is. You know why we need water filtration systems.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Betterwater.com.
What more do you need?
I'm waiting for our program director to be like, hey, can you stop doing things that make you laugh and focus on what makes the audience laugh? And I'll be like, I'm trying.
We're all laughing together.
I'm trying.
We're laughing
I'm
together.
trying, I swear. All right, so we got a lot going down this week. Pete Hegseth has been confirmed. That's awesome. Kristi Noem has been confirmed. That's great. Yesterday, Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury, he was confirmed 68-29. We have a vote for confirmation of Sean Duffy, Secretary of Transportation today. That's going to be happening in about an hour. And then it gets dicey. You ready? You ready? It's going to get dicey. Tomorrow, we have the first confirmation hearing, Senate Finance Committee with RFK Jr. That's going to be huge. Then Thursday, the second one with RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel. Whew. It's going to get wild. Are you excited? I'm excited. The opposition is growing. Listen, if you thought Hegseth was a battle, you haven't seen anything yet. You have seen absolutely nothing yet, I can assure you. You're already seeing a lot of the hate ramp up against RFK Jr. And you're seeing both sides of the aisle ramp up the hate against RFK Jr. The RFK hearing is going to be wild. That's going to be must-see TV. Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know if Tulsi Gabbard is going to be as wild. I think that might be a little bit more toned down, although there's strong opposition to her. And then Kash Patel is going to be off the charts as well. But RFK, I mean, he's already getting hit pieces rolling out. The Washington Post. Why RFK is dangerous to public health. He's made millions from referring clients to trial lawyers, and he advocates mass tort litigation that would ruin the vaccine industry. At least they're admitting it's a vaccine industry. That's nice. That's nice. The Wall Street Journal op-ed is claiming RFK Jr. is dangerous because he wants manufacturers of vaccines to face lawsuits when their products injure a customer. See, the problem is that could bankrupt the vaccine manufacturers. But the reality of this situation is Pfizer and Moderna, well, they should be held accountable for any cases of myocarditis linked to their vaccines or gene therapy. You say tomato, I say tomato. Their products cause harm and in some cases death to young men, some young men, not all of them, not all. Let's be perfectly clear, not all of them. And they failed to adjust the dosing strategy or delay doses when needed. And then we saw universities and jobs mandate these vaccines, even for kids who already had COVID, ignoring any immunity considerations. Weird. If it ever goes to trial, you might see internal documents revealing a lot more damaging evidence than's been in the public sector before. And the Wall Street Journal, did I say Washington Post? It was the Wall Street Journal, excuse me. The Wall Street Journal, that writing this article is just, they're putting on full display their pro-corporate, pharma-friendly roots. They echo the likes of Scott Gottlieb. And ironically, Democrats used to champion making vaccine makers liable. It's so weird how this works. The Democrats used to be on this side that we're on currently. But now, since Orange Man supports it, then they're against it, right? They have to go against anything that Donald Trump touches by any means necessary, even if it aligns with what you might believe. And RFK thinks we should be able to question vaccines. I think we should too. I think that there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. There's some other data circling around and other medical doctors. I'm not a medical doctor, full disclosure. I'm just a dad. I'm a dad with 4 young kids, and I have concerns like many parents do. And it's not just right or left. I know crunchy granola moms who held their nose and voted for Trump because of RFK. RFK was a huge part of us winning that election. Make no mistake about it. And they're going to throw out hit pieces on him over and over and over. But these safety studies that need to be questioned need to be questioned. Dr. Toby Rogers sat down with Brett Weinstein, no relation to Harvey. No relation to Harvey. And they were talking about the safety studies that were done for aluminum adjuvants in vaccines. Did you know that there's aluminum adjuvants in vaccines? Aluminum. And they're actually in more than half of the vaccines that we give to our kids today. If you give your kids vaccines. I opt out. But if you do, no judgment. I get it. Like, do you. Do your own research. That's really what this is all about. So Dr. Toby Rogers sits down with Brett Weinstein, and they're talking about the safety studies that our industries use, like the FDA cites, as to why this is safe to have in vaccines. And it always blows my mind when you realize how little the study is in comparison to how many vaccines we give out. So they're talking about the aluminum adjuvants in more than half of vaccines given to kids today, and the safety study that says we're allowed to do it because look at this study, it's safe. And they're breaking down that safety study.
Not built to take metals that have bypassed the skin and process them elegantly. So what happens to the adjuvants and how do we know?
So in my PhD research, I read the safety studies that were used to get mercury and aluminum approved as safe adjuvants to include in vaccines. And mercury largely got grandfathered in, which is a scandal unto itself. The aluminum safety studies are both comical and horrifying. So aluminum adjuvants are in more than half of the vaccines given to children today. So just backstory, parents in the 1990s were seeing autism in their children, were seeing skyrocketing autism rates. They discovered that mercury was in vaccines. They protested against that. So FDA and CDC removed mercury from lots of vaccines. Not from all of them. It's still in the 10-dose flu vial and some of the others. But as they're taking mercury out, they're adding more aluminum back in.
I'll pause it there for a second just to say, parents, when they get their voices loud, mountains can be moved, okay? And you heard it right there. So when parents got loud in the 90s about mercury, well, they started taking it out of some of the vaccines, but at the same time, aluminum started moving in.
And I actually believe they did that to keep the autism rates rising so that they wouldn't be blamed for rising autism cases. This is in the early 2000s. So I did a really deep dive into the aluminum safety studies. The aluminum safety study used to allow aluminum into vaccines in the US was based on a study of 4 New Zealand white rabbits.
So the study that says it's safe to have aluminum in vaccines, 4 rabbits in New Zealand. That's the one they go off of. This is the stuff that RFK wants to ask questions about when he gets in as director of HHS. This is why it's wild, right? Like, oh, so you give it to millions and millions of kids every year, no questions asked, because, well, we had a safety study with 4 rabbits, right? Well, okay, well, all right. Tell me more about the rabbit study, okay? Is it where, you had to get some good data out of 4 rabbits, right? One would think, if that's the study that you cite.
Now, anybody who's taken statistics knows that you cannot get statistical significance unless you have a sample size of at least 30, but you actually want a much larger sample size than that.
Oh, so you're telling me that 4 rabbits is not enough.
But in this case, the study was based on 4 rabbits. And there's problems in doing safety studies in animals because they may or may not be applicable to humans. But that's the study the FDA and CDC rely on. And then in this study, they promptly lost the results from one of the rabbits.
Oh, so we're down to 3 rabbits? Wait, we're down to 3 rabbits. It's 10% of what you would need for any real statistical study. It's 3 rabbits. We can't let RFK get in charge of HHS and ask questions, can we? I mean, it could hurt the vaccine industry, says the Wall Street Journal.
So we're down to just 3 rabbits. And then the results in the rabbits were horrifying.
Oh, gosh. Do we want it? Oh, so then the results in the rabbits weren't good? So we got 3 rabbits, and then the results were... That's the one that the FDA and the CDC cites?
So...
In the 3
that...
The data still exists.
Exactly. So the rabbits are killed after 28 days. So we have... And there were no behavioral tests. They didn't have them run mazes. You can't talk to a rabbit. So there's no measure of the impact
You're wrong about that. You can talk to
They
a rabbit.
won't talk back though. So there's no tests of cognition. There's no tests on what it did to the mind of these rabbits. But when they sacrificed these rabbits, the aluminum adjuvants were still there. They were looking at 2 types of aluminum adjuvants, and in one, 94% of the aluminum adjuvant was still in the body. In the other, in the mid 70% range of the aluminum adjuvants were still in the body. So the theory was that, well, the body excretes the aluminum through the urine. Well, nope, that's not what happens. It's still in the body. And the places that you find the aluminum adjuvants in the body are what you would expect, but they're horrifying. It's in the kidneys and the liver, it's in the heart, it's in the lymph nodes, it's in the bone marrow, and it's in the brain.
Ah, all right. Well, so that's the rabbit study that the CDC and the FDA cites why it's safe to have aluminum in vaccines. This is the vaccine industry and the medical industrial complex are working overtime to do anything they can to discredit RFK Jr. They understand that this guy's going to come in and he's going to ask questions like, hey, can I see that rabbit study? Oh, weird. I don't know if this is safe. Would you trust something with your kids if you had known that the study was based on 3 rabbits? I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just asking questions. And now that Trump's back in office, we have free speech again. We're allowed to ask these questions. I might get a ding on YouTube where you should like and subscribe. But, you know, who knows? Who knows? They might let this stay up because we're back in a free speech society. But this is the questions that RFK is going to ask. And the opposition is mounting against him in a massive way. The New York Post even put out a hit piece against RFK. Yep. The New York Post. The conservative New York Post. And you know what? They had a lot to say about RFK. They brought up every bad thing he's ever done, every leftist policy he's supported. But you know what they didn't seem to mention? Was the job that he'd be focused on. See, RFK has a lot of radical leftist stuff, right? Whether it comes to the environment or his views on abortion, but there's a place where we align, and that's in food and chronic disease and making America healthy again, right? And he can do a lot of damage to this industry that makes money off of us being sick. And I think that that's what these people fear more than anything else, is losing money. I'll bring you that New York Post article when we return. Plus, we'll talk a little bit more about RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and your phone calls at 615-737-9986. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Charges are stacking up after a sex trafficking ring busted in Antioch. Also, where are we on no tax on tips? A Tennessee congressman has some insight on that. We've got that coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We can't have RFK asking questions about the rabbit study. We can't do it. He can't be HHS director. A lot of people get a lot of big pharma donations. And it's not just on one side of the aisle or the other. It's both. It's both. Actually, fun fact, and I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble, but I'll tell you anyway. The leading Republican senator who gets the most donations from big pharma last year, do you know who it is? Do you know?
No, I don't, but I'm interested now.
Marsha Blackburn.
Ah, of course.
Marsha.
Oh, boy.
That's like over $300,000.
Really?
Yeah. 2023, I believe.
Wonderful.
Weird, right?
Coincidence? I think not.
Listen, I'll be perfectly fair with you, though. I have heard nothing about Marsha going against RFK for HHS. I haven't. I 100% have not. But we got to get this pharma money out of politics, period, and start getting back to putting the American citizens first. That's what RFK Jr. wants to do. And people are going to have issues with him. Oh, he's a radical leftist. He's this, he's that. And you're seeing it. You're seeing them. They're pulling out all the stops. You got Mike Pence and his CRC advocacy group. Mike Pence partnered with Leonard Leo's PR firm, CRC Advisors, to block RFK's Senate confirmation. So there are conservatives out there bashing him as well. CRC also represented pharma behemoth Eli Lilly in 2020, and CRC worked with the Koch network's Americans for Prosperity to spend $40 million on Nikki Haley's 2024 campaign. So they have a long history of failing at the end of the day. So that's nice. That's nice. But these are conservatives that are out there against him. And the conservative New York Post put out a hit piece. Senators vote no on RFK Jr., who's still a radical left lunatic hazardous to our health. It was less than a year ago in April 2024 that then candidate Donald Trump went on a late-night tear against Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and they pull up these old truths. I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were outright nasty, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse. Referring to him as a Democratic plant, Trump added that RFK is an extreme environmentalist who makes the green new scammers look conservative, a big-time taxer, and an open border advocate, and an anti-military vet. RFK Jr. called himself an independent, but he's not. Trump wrote he's a radical left lunatic. I love that they pulled this out, right? Because I want to point out he said nothing about RFK's views on chronic disease or the poisons in the food industry. Weird. I'd also like to point out that during this time, RFK was a bigger threat to Donald Trump than Joe Biden. Okay? And I'll make another point. Had Kamala Harris enlisted the help of RFK, well, they very well may have won that election. RFK voters broke for Trump in a massive way. And it's that Maha energy. Make America healthy again. We have a real chance in this country to get the poison out of our food industry, to clean up the medical industrial complex, and the people at the top that make money off of this are terrified. I'm not shocked that the New York Post has a hit piece out on it, because you can scroll through the New York Post and look at the ads on the side, and you'll see medication. I'm looking at it right now. Know before, 5 ways fish ER saves you time and money. Okay. There's all sorts of medical ads in the New York Post, just like everywhere. Just like everywhere. So they're worried about their bottom line too. RFK is going to hurt that industry. Make no mistake about it. And that animal is cornered right now, and that animal is scared. And what do cornered, scared animals do? Well, they lash out. They lash out. They get a little crazy. And RFK is definitely getting under their skin. We need to support RFK. Bigly. And if you want to know what senators to call to make your voice heard, because there's some Democrats that you can call as well. Bill Cassidy, Louisiana Republican, Susan Collins out of Maine, although she might be a lost cause. Lisa Murkowski might be a lost cause. Mitch McConnell might be a lost cause. But like Cory Booker in New Jersey, he might actually vote for RFK. I'm going to retweet these numbers, and you can find them on my X account, @ChrisHandOnAir, in case you want to make a phone call today. Say, we got to get RFK confirmed. We have to. This is about the future of America. This is about our kids. And this is about not being bent over by the medical industrial complex anymore. RFK is a key part of the Trump win, and he's a key part of this nation's future. And he's going to be laser focused on health and the medical industrial complex and the food industry. He's exactly where he needs to be. Throw his other positions out. That's not the job he's going to be doing. We need RFK as the director of HHS. This country needs it. I guarantee you he's going to make changes for the good of the nation. We need it. We have a chance for real change. Make it happen. It's 10:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When we return, Tulsi Gabbard. Are they really going to be voting in secret? They might be. We'll talk about it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 10:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Watch it on Eastbound 24 this morning. If you're in that backup, it's because they're doing milling and paving around the Sam Ridley Parkway area, and it's causing quite a backup this morning. One person is dead after a two-car crash last night in Murfreesboro. 3 other cars were involved in that, and 3 people were injured. One of them is in critical condition. Now, this happened about 6:45 last night on Middle Tennessee Boulevard. It was shut down for a while from Park Avenue to Haley Road. That crash still under investigation. An additional charge has been filed after a group of men in the country illegally took off running when police closed in on a prostitution operation.
The Department of Justice has filed another charge against one of the 5 illegal immigrants rounded up in a sex trafficking raid in Antioch earlier this month. The Tennessee Star says 28-year-old Elmer Umberto Aparicio was charged on Friday with unlawful possession of a firearm by an illegal alien. Aparicio allegedly admitted to possessing a pistol and throwing it away while he was running from law enforcement as they searched a 5-acre property with a building modified for use as a brothel. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The pace of changes from the Trump administration has been head spinning, but so far there's been no action on Trump's promise of no tax on tips. Well, after spending time with the president last night at a Republican retreat, Tennessee Congressman Scott Desjardins says that is still in the mix.
He seemed pretty adamant last night that there'd be no tax on tips, and we'll see whether no tax on Social Security and the overtime also becomes a part of that. So I don't know when exactly it would take effect. Not exactly sure if that can be done through executive order, but it certainly was something he spent a bit of time on.
Desjardins on the Dan Mandis Show this morning. That's the latest news. Weather is up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 10:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for listening, however you may be listening, either on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, if you're listening on the 99.7 WTN app, if you're kicking it old school on the FM dial, or you're watching us on Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We appreciate you, however you may be listening. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if you're watching us live in these brand new renovated studios, shout out to our engineering team. It looks fantastic, guys. Thank you. Thank you. If you're on the YouTube, like and subscribe. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC and betterwater.com to get yourself a water filtration system. We're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard, but I got a couple calls on the line that want to talk about what we were just talking about, RFK, and the questions that he wants to ask when it comes to vaccine safety. Let's go to Cran in Silver Point first. What's up, Cran?
Hey.
How are you doing?
It's great to hear. Yeah, I was just wondering about the toxicity of aluminum.
Yeah.
I work with it every day at work, and every bag of the grit for the grit blaster that I put in has a lung warning. So do you have any idea what kind of toxicity aluminum really has for your body?
When it comes to
I have to.
When it comes to the vaccines, there's some symptoms of aluminum neurotoxicity that you'll see, which are cognitive and neurobehavioral deficits, speech and language impairment, personality changes, altered mood, depression, motor disturbances, weakness, fatigue, seizures. That's some of the symptoms if you're getting hit with aluminum toxicity.
Oh, well, I just thought it was menopause.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, I work in auto manufacturing.
I'm not a doctor.
And,
it could be menopause.
I thought I would try to inject the funny there. But,
I love it.
It's aluminum oxide being used to pulverize aluminum, and so there's they just have one little tiny warning on the bag. This might cause lung damage.
Yeah, listen, I'm talking specifically about vaccines and the safety study that was done where they cite this safety study with the aluminum adjuvant and vaccines, and they use it at the FDA and the CDC, and they say this proves it's safe, but the safety study was done with 3 rabbits. And so I'm specifically talking about this.
I used to raise rabbits, and they're not safe from anything. Everything wants to eat them, and everything wants to kill them, including the Oakleys.
Oh, I appreciate the call, Cran. Thanks so much. Let's go to Chip in Columbia. What's up, Chip?
Hey, man, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. What's going on?
I just wanted to share a story real quick. On the first week of January 21, Murray County received their first rounds of vaccinations or injections. January 5th, my father got his first of 2 Moderna injections. January 20th, he called and was his feet were swelling. He was having shortness of breath. Long story short, he threw some blood clots, and they affected his liver and kidneys. It pretty much blocked them off. And he died by February 3rd. It was February 3rd, 2021. So less than a month from taking his first shot. Actually, he was due to get his second shot the day that he died.
Jeez. I'm so sorry to hear that, man. And Chip, I don't think you're alone. I think there are a lot of people with stories like that. And there are a lot of people who have stories that they chalk up to coincidence that you might look at and go, I don't know if that was a coincidence. But I think the big issue here is that we haven't been able to even ask these questions for years now.
Right. I've been communicating with the CDC through email. They did respond, and it was just, the vaccines were safe. Here's the minor side effects. And in the small print deep in the email was a link, and I can't remember who it was, but there's some federal compensation out there. I've not applied, and I don't know if they'll pay anything. But the main thing I want it to be recognized. My father was in good health, other than He took cholesterol medicine, so they drew his blood every 6 months to make sure nothing was wrong with his liver. And the death certificate says cirrhosis.
That's awful, man. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your story, Chip, and it breaks my heart, but I don't think you're alone. I think there are a lot of people that share a similar story like yours, and I appreciate the call. And until we can answer these questions, it's all anecdotal evidence. You know what I mean? Like I can't prove it. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just a dad who has questions, and I have a lot of questions. I have a lot when it comes to the vaccines and the vaccine industry. And I heard Chip say, yeah, there's federal compensation down at the bottom. There's a link. Yeah, but the vaccine manufacturers aren't held liable. It's the taxpayers that pay that out. And there's a lot of entries in that VAERS database since it was created in the late 80s of people who were injured by vaccines and then got paid out because of the taxpayers, not the vaccine manufacturers. I want people to be able to be held accountable if they make a product that hurts an American citizen. Plain and simple. I think that's what RFK Jr. is going to try to bring to the table. I hope so. I hope so. We need change agents at all level of government. And we're seeing it quickly. Pete Hegseth at Department of Defense, awesome. Awesome. Kristi Noem, DHS, I like it. Even Bessent, I think he's going to be fantastic as Treasury Secretary. But we got a lot more coming down the pipe. RFK is a big one. RFK challenges the status quo. So does Tulsi Gabbard. And the Democrats and the media are lining up to lambaste Tulsi Gabbard. You'll hear all the stuff. You'll hear that she's an Assad sympathizer. Yep. Okay. Except she's not. She wanted the U.S. to keep their nose out of Syria when that conflict was going on. They misrepresented that as support for Assad, where really she didn't want us in forever wars. She was even asked once on TV, is Assad a good person? And she said, no, I don't think he's a good person. Then they'll say, well, Tulsi Gabbard's an isolationist or sympathetic to dictators. And I would ask you, is being an isolationist a bad thing? Or would you prefer getting into more forever wars? And sympathetic to dictators is kind of a joke because we hear this time and time again. Trump is sympathetic to dictators. Biden didn't talk to Putin for 3 years. 3 years. As over 1 million Ukrainians and Russians died in this conflict, Biden wasn't even on the phone with Putin. Trump says, I'll talk to him. Do you think our relationship with North Korea was better under Trump or better under Biden? Well, Trump sympathizes with dictators. No. He talks to people. Do you think Iraq was in a better shape when Saddam Hussein was in control or right now? Like, yes, some parts of the world have very tyrannical leaders. Make no mistake about it. Some parts of the world, that's what they need. That's the form of government that works. We still have to work with these people. We still have to talk to them. It doesn't mean that we have to be allies or support them with everything that they do. But it also doesn't mean that we need to throw bombs and advocate for regime change and advocate for our sons and daughters to go over there and die. For what? For what? What did the Iraq war gain us as a country? I remember as a kid, everybody would be like, no more blood for oil. It's like, no, well, we shed a lot more blood. We didn't get any oil. At least if we took the oil, we could be like, well, we got the oil. Right? Like it blows my mind. They'll say Tulsi Gabbard is soft on Iran. Soft on Iran. In fact, in 2013, Tulsi Gabbard co-sponsored the Nuclear Iran Prevention Act, which aimed to impose harsher sanctions on Iran. And the same people that say, oh, she's soft on Iran, they're not going to bring up any of the softness that the Biden administration exhibited over the last 4 years. They'll say that she's a Russian asset. I love the Russia. It's Russia. But she criticized Putin. She criticized him when he annexed Crimea in 2014. She criticized his invasion of Ukraine in 2022. She's soft on Russia. They'll tell you that she pushes Russian propaganda on U.S.-funded biolabs, except for the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was right. There are U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. It's public info. It's been discussed and confirmed by U.S. government officials multiple times. Tulsi Gabbard, we can't let her in. We just can't. She can't be DNI. She's the worst. She's awful. Miss me with that. We need change agents in government. Tulsi Gabbard is one of those change agents. We need Tulsi Gabbard. We do. Although the rumor is, and this is, I've heard this rumor from a couple different places, and I'm sure you have as well. The rumor is that the vote for Tulsi Gabbard might be done privately in a skiff, with the vote tallies kept secret from the American people. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Can we have transparency? If you're going to vote no on Tulsi Gabbard, can you have the cojones to make that public? Republicans as well. See, I think the big problem with Tulsi Gabbard is similar to the big problem with RFK. She's not a fan of the medical industrial complex in the same way that RFK is not a fan of the medical industrial complex. Tulsi Gabbard understands firsthand the dangers of the military industrial complex. She served in the military. She doesn't like it. Deal with it. Deal with it. Tulsi Gabbard needs to be confirmed. RFK Jr. needs to be confirmed. But Tulsi, I'm hearing, is more in jeopardy than even RFK. The no's rumored right now, Senator Mike Rounds out of South Dakota, Senator Susan Collins out of Maine, Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska, and John Cornyn out of Texas. Now, the last time I checked, we can only afford 3, right? We can only afford 3 no votes because then JD has to come in and be a tiebreaker. This has to change. This has to change. We need our change agents in there to affect the change that the American people voted for. We looked at the status quo and we said, enough of that. We're tired of the endless forever wars. We're tired of the lies. We're tired of a lot of stuff in this country. And we overwhelmingly voted for change. Trump's nominees have to get in. If you're going to vote against a Trump nominee, you need to be ready for a primary and early retirement. Plain and simple. So if Mike Rounds or John Cornyn wants to get put on the list with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, have at it. Have at it. And John Cornyn, he was one of the guys that they wanted to be Senate Majority Leader, right? It was a bullet dodged. John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, he wants all of Trump's nominations to get in. Okay, I like that. Thune was saying that the other day. We got to get him in. We got to get him in. And the ones that are in right now, you're already seeing positive ripple effects. Rubio at State Department was awesome. I mean, issuing that press release so fast against Colombia, visas are done. Heading down to the Panama Canal. I like it. I like it. John Ratcliffe, he gets in as CIA director, and immediately they update their Wuhan lab leak theory. They had the info. They just weren't telling you. This is the issue that we have at the highest levels of our federal government, and these are the people that we're bringing in to change it. Buckle up. You're either coming with us or you're going to get rolled over. Plain and simple. It's 10:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. Do you need quality health insurance? Everybody does, but you don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it. Well, you need to talk to my friend Shane Ring at Cover Nash. Shane has over 20 years of experience, and he can shop the entire market for you. Some places don't. They have limited options. Shane's going to shop over 75 different companies to get you the best plan. And it doesn't matter what your income level is or what your health status is. Shane can help you out. Don't let someone you know or yourself get taken advantage of by call centers in these limited, overpriced health coverage. Shane can be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums, and some of the plans that Shane can get you on will even pay you when you use them. You can give Shane a call today, let him know that I sent you, and he'll get you set up. 615-465-0023, or go to his website, covernash.com. Pick up the phone, though. This phone call you will not regret. 615-465-0023, or you can get a quality health plan managed by you, not the government, right now at covernash.com.
All right, drivers, still got very slow going eastbound 24 due to some road construction in Smyrna. You've got the right 2 lanes blocked just past Sam Ridley Parkway for some milling and paving. And I'm seeing a news alert about broccoli and listeria sold at Walmart. I'll get you that coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, Ken Weaver, I had to preface a lot of that last segment by saying I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
So I'll preface this by saying I've never worked in road construction. I don't understand why on earth they're doing construction on 24 in the middle of rush hour.
Yep.
On a Tuesday morning.
In the middle of the day.
I was riding around all over there over the weekend.
Yeah.
My kids were doing Ford Ice Center. They had hockey games right up there in Antioch. So we're passing it.
Yep.
Not a construction crew in sight.
Nope.
Not Saturday, not Sunday.
Nope.
Not Friday afternoon. I'm not even knocking the guys. I'm not saying work overnight. I don't want to work overnight either. What about Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
No. They'll do it Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Yeah. In the middle, at the start of rush hour traffic.
Insanity.
Yeah.
And can I also say, I'm not even mad at the guys doing it, but like you're putting those TDOT workers at a much larger risk.
Absolutely.
It's not safe.
No.
I'm writing a letter. You got any stamps back there? It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And the Food and Drug Administration is raising an alert on listeria-tainted broccoli. The New York Post says it was sold at Walmart. And this increased alert is over a risk of death. This is for market-side broccoli florets sold at Walmart, raising it to the highest level after it was found to be contaminated with listeria. So check the package on those veggies. 2,200 students going back to Antioch High School today for the first time since a shooting last week. The school will observe a moment of silence here in just about 8 minutes, the exact time the shooting occurred. The school also announced that a third school resource officer has been added to the school. Students will be walking through a new weapon detection system. Some of those students protested at the state capitol yesterday to gain the attention of lawmakers gathered there for a special session. Representative Scott Sapicki telling Dan Mandis on Nashville's Morning News the protests were noisy but not overwhelming.
All that they have a right to come up here and voice their opinion. That's the First Amendment. We want to make sure that we get to the bottom of exactly what happened at Antioch and see if there were things that maybe contributed to this happening through the school district.
Sapicki and other lawmakers considering a school voucher bill, among other things, during this special session. There's more trouble for Antioch High School. A former assistant basketball coach has been suspended from his job and charged with inappropriate communications with a 14-year-old student on Instagram. Clarence Davis detained in the Metro jail on a $192,000 bond. President Trump signing executive orders that could set in motion a ban on transgender troops in the military.
This seems to pave the way to pushing openly transgender people out of the military, mirroring the order he signed on transgender last week. But this goes further, allowing the Pentagon to possibly bar transgender people if they identify as a gender other than the one assigned at birth. It states expressing a false gender identity divergent from an individual's sex cannot satisfy the rigorous standards necessary for the military service.
That's ABC's Jonathan Carl. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:05. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was writing a letter during the break. We don't have any stamps around here.
Is it a strongly worded letter, Brother Chris?
All of them. All of the words are very strong.
It was kind of impressive. I didn't expect you to have ink and quill with you. You were ready.
I had my feather pen. Just wait. T-Dot is going to get this in 3 to 5 days. And they're going to get an earful. I tell you what, boys.
We the people who live long 24.
To whom it may concern.
Attention. 6 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Get your water filtration system, betterwater.com. You know what happens if you don't have a water filter system.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Betterwater.com. Got a lot of people waiting on the line to talk about vaccines. I don't know if they have their own vaccine story or if they want to comment on what we were talking about with RFK earlier. But let's start with Todd in Kentucky. Todd, what's up, man? How we doing?
Not much, Chris. What's going on, brother?
Not much. What do you got?
I just wanted to let that one gentleman that called me about two calls ago about his dad. I just want to let him know that
Heartbreaker.
he's definitely not the only one. Same thing happened to me back in 21. Dad went for a physical. All of his numbers came back great. A couple months later, he went back. Well, his doctor done told him to go on and get the Johnson & Johnson, and he went back to the doctor a few months later, thought he had an ulcer coming up, and they sent him for a CT, and he had stage 4 stomach cancer and died Christmas Eve that year. He only lasted about 4 months after he found out.
Damn. I'm sorry to hear that, Todd.
Man, it sucks, and it's just what that's all we need, RFK. This is the crap they're getting away with.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Tulsi. It's time to knock all these weeds down first, brother. That way we can turn around and get to the swamp.
Yeah. Let's deal with the traitors first, man. Let's deal with the people that are enemies against the American public first and get them out of there.
They're all the ones that are the traitors. They're the weeds, man.
Yep. I appreciate the call, Todd. I'm sorry to hear about your dad. Let's go to Jake in Hickman. Jake, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey there, it's Rickman.
Rickman, my fault. What's up, man?
Hey, I just wanted to, you're speaking so much truth and facts. I hope people are listening because I've argued with on these facts with people for years about the mercury, the heavy metals, the aluminum, the aborted fetal tissue. Nobody talks about that.
No, nobody ever talks. It's so okay. This is another one that's crazy. MRC5 and WI38, they're used in the development of quite a few vaccines. And it's from aborted fetal tissue. The MRC5 is the male. The WI38 is the female. And then they cloned that tissue over and over and over again. It's insane. Yeah, nobody talks about it. Yeah. But we're finally getting to a spot where we can ask these questions, I think, where we're not going to be punished. For a few years back there, it seemed like if you spoke out of like this on any platform, you were silenced and shouted down or banned and having your accounts deactivated. At least we can ask the questions. I like what you said. I was speaking facts. I'm not really speaking facts. I'm just asking questions, and I think we should all be asking these questions.
Well, people won't do the research. All they have to do, Google, go to the CDC website. They have a PDF file with all of the vaccines listed and all of the ingredients of each of those vaccines, and just Google them. I mean, Cocker Spaniel kidney cells, bovine serum, monkey kidney cells.
Bovine serum is the craziest thing. It's like they take an aborted cow and then they suck the juice out of the heart, right? Am I correct? I feel like that's what it is. Insane.
Yeah, look at the ingredients, and people, when you're talking about the heavy metals, the lady called in and said she worked with aluminum. It's hazardous no matter what, but what people need to research and read about is the differences between ingestion and injection. Okay, your body is designed to ingest stuff and, for the most part, get rid of what is harmful, what it doesn't need through your bowel system.
Yep.
Your body is not designed to have these chemicals and these things injected into your bloodstream, into your through your skin. And the blood-brain barrier. Aluminum has the ability to penetrate your blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
And then and Also, so many arguments about autism and vaccines. I beg people to look up the case of Hannah Poling, I can't remember. It's Poling, I believe. Her father was a very prominent doctor at a very prominent hospital. They can look it up. She has been verified through the VAERS system to have vaccine-caused autism. Let's say the vaccine doesn't cause autism. Hers does. It's verified. The CDC verified it. They paid them, I want to say, $24 million. This was back in the early 90s, mid-90s, to hush about it. You've never seen it since. He even the dad done an interview with, what is the doctor that comes on WTN and does that little medical segment?
Sanjay Gupta?
Sanjay Gupta done an interview with Hannah's father. You can find it. It's still out there.
Yeah.
And then you got Sanjay on there speaking out, saying that it doesn't cause it. He done an interview with the father. Look it up. It's verified.
And here's the thing. It's like a lot of these people get painted as anti-vaxxers, but they weren't anti-vaxxers. They were people that believed in vaccines, and then they had an incident occur in their life that changed their thought process. And
that was us.
It's anecdotal. Like, you can say it's anecdotal, and I'm not trying to discredit, your experience, man, but like, for the broader discussion, you say, well, these are anecdotal evidence, right? But I know so many people that have this same story. And I had a good friend who he's since passed away, but he's like I took my son in. He was awesome. He was, 2 and talking and chatting, and he's a great kid. We left, and like the next day, there's no more smile and no more words. And it's I just want to get to the bottom of it. I don't.
And SIDS.
Yeah, sudden infant death syndrome. Yeah, is that a lot of those correlate with wellness checks? Again,
yes, the time.
Again, anecdotal, but I want somebody in there that's going to ask these hard questions and let the truth fall where it may. You know what I mean?
Well, there's never been a study done on vaxxed children versus anti-vaxxed children, and the excuse they give is, well, it's not humane because we're depriving these children of vaccines, of these, great vaccines, so it's not, they won't do the study. Well, there's plenty of children. I'm a household. I have 4 children in various stages of vaccines. My youngest, my 9-year-old, is the one that had the injury. So we were told by her doctor, do not stick another needle in this child. We haven't. Our youngest son, who's now 7, has never had a needle in him. He's never had Benadryl. He's never had he's never had a prescription medication. He didn't have the eye goop on his eyes at birth. He's never had anything.
Yeah, we didn't
never get sick.
We didn't do the eye goop either. Once you start looking into some of these things, especially when you start having kids, like that eye goop, that's in case they put the goop on every baby's eyes, right? And that's in case the mother has gonorrhea, because if the mother has gonorrhea, it can cause blindness in the child. Totally understandable, and why you would do it, except for the fact that every mother is tested before they give birth for these diseases. So it's already confirmed or denied whether or not the mother has it. And then they continue to do it to every baby because it's another charge for the insurance providers. And you have to start asking yourself, is this about money or is this about health?
Yeah, Hep B. Look at the Hep B they give a newborn right out of the womb.
I denied that for my kids. I said, I'm sorry, I don't think they're going to be playing around in dirty needles or having unprotected sex.
Yeah, we denied them all, and he never gets sick.
Yep.
If he gets a runny nose, he's over it in a day. The health between him and our other kids is astronomical. It's noticeable. He never gets sick.
Jake, I really appreciate your call, man, and I'm sorry for the struggle that you have with your oldest. It's heartbreaking, man. We've figured out
the problem, and she's. I won't go into her issues. That take all day, but she's doing much better, and she's going to be totally fine. But it's just thank you for speaking on this, and I've argued with so many pastors, preachers, on the aborted fetal tissue issue. How you support these vaccines with this aborted fetal tissue, and they argue, well, it's not. That's fake news. It's not. Look it up.
Just ask them ask them for the insert.
Yeah, that's it. Ask for the answer. But thank you, and watch how mad the doctor gets when you ask for it.
Yeah, honestly.
But
Well, and the
thank you for
doctors are bonused on how many patients at the percentage of patients at their clinic that are fully vaccinated up to schedule. That's why when COVID happened, they kicked a lot of kids out because so many parents had their eyes open to the medical industrial complex and started questioning things, and so they weren't going to hit their bonus. So they said, well, we're not taking unvaccinated patients.
And you talk about the VAERS, people can look the VAERS system up, the vaccine injury reporting system, and all the payouts. They say, now I've watched Dale Bigtree on the High Wire. He says that the VAERS system only catches less than 5%.
Yep, I've seen
of
that as
actual
well.
cases. Yeah, so I mean it's insane. But
well,
hey,
and then
we're
you
talking about it,
and then you have parents out there who and listen, I'm not knocking them, but to each their own. You have parents that will see something happen and they won't even their brain won't even let them go to was it this? It's just they bury their head in the sand on it. It's heartbreaking, man. The whole thing is heartbreaking. I just want answers and I want to get to the bottom of it. And I want somebody that's going to follow the science to the truth, not follow the science to the money.
Yeah, in Tennessee, I want people to know, in Tennessee, you do have waivers for anti-vax children in school. That's the one question we always get. How do you send them to school? Tennessee has medical exemptions and religious exemptions because of the aborted fetal tissue.
Yep.
It's a simple, you print the paper out online, you fill it out, you give it to the schools. They ask no questions.
Yeah.
You do not have to vaccinate your child to go to school in the state of Tennessee.
You're absolutely right. And it's very easy to download. We've done it ourselves before we started homeschooling. I appreciate the call, Jake. Thank you for listening, man. Continue listening. I love these kind of phone calls. Let's go to Kevin in Franklin. What's up, Kevin?
Hey there. Thank you for having a discussion about this topic. Much needed. Just wanted to tell you, in June of 2000, there was a non-public meeting at Simpsonwood Methodist Retreat Center. The CDC attended, every major vaccine manufacturer, a lot of researchers, and they got together in a closed-door meeting to present information that they had and research that they had on the link between autism and the vaccines. And they were concerned because there was a link in all of this information. And whistleblowers, the only reason that we know about this meeting is because whistleblowers who were in the meeting were so concerned about this that they spoke out. One of the people that they contacted was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. At the time in the meeting, what they decided to do, because this information was available through Freedom of Information Act. So as I'm remembering the story correctly, they created a private entity and gave all of that information, all their research to this private entity, so it wasn't available to the public. RFK wrote articles about this, trying to get it published, and of course, none of the major media would publish this and promote this because of, they get advertising dollars from the pharmaceutical companies. So ultimately, guess who published an article? Rolling Stone magazine. They were the only media that would touch this. So I mean, this is documented. You can go online, Simpsonwood meeting June 2000. It's all there. They've been knowing that the vaccines cause injury for many, many, many years. That's why they need immunity, and that's why the Vaccine Injury Fund was created, to give them immunity. And once they have immunity, now they're crazy, with the amount of vaccines that they are producing. They've also never done any research on what is the risk of multiple vaccines.
Yes, they only study them individually. You're absolutely right, and I appreciate the call. This used to be one of the left's big issues, and again, RFK Jr., make no mistake about it, got many on the left to come over and hold their nose and vote for Trump, and this is a big issue. The food and the medical industrial complex, and this used to be allowed to be talked about in mainstream media. This used to be allowed to be talked about on the left. And there's a video from 2005 where Morning Joe, MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, is talking with RFK and expressing empathy for RFK Jr.'s belief that vaccines can cause autism. This isn't like ancient history. This is 20 years ago.
My son, born in 1991, has a slight form of autism called Asperger's. But it seems, and again, when I was practicing law, and also when I was in Congress, parents would constantly come to me, and they'd bring me videotapes of their children, and they were all around the age of my son or younger.
The generation,
so something happened in 1989.
Exactly. The generation, what happened was the vaccine schedule was increased. We went up from receiving about 10 vaccines in our generation to these kids received 24 vaccines. And they all had this thimerosal in them, this mercury, and nobody bothered to do an analysis of what the cumulative impact of all that mercury was doing to kids. As it turns out, we are injecting our children with 400 times the amount of mercury that FDA or EPA considers safe. A child on his first day that he's born is injected with a hepatitis B shot. Under EPA guidelines, he would have to be 275 pounds to safely absorb that shot.
And yet we're just constantly pumping our kids with these vaccines.
Right, and what happened was that in 1988, 1 in every 2,500 American children had autism. Today, 1 in every 166 children have autism.
And it keeps going up. You heard RFK Jr. there. This is from 2005, so 20 years ago. And he's like, well, and now they have 24. Well, now we're up to like 72 if you follow the recommended schedule and you include all the COVID and the flu shots. 72 before a child turns 18. Absolute insanity. I see a lot of people wanting to weigh in on this issue, and we'll keep the conversation going. We will. 615-737-9986. We'll be back with more right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at United Structural Systems. Do you have cracks in your foundation? Do you have wet basement walls? Do you have cracks in your basement floor? Listen, that is your house screaming out to you. Please call United Structural Systems. Those warning signs start popping up, and that could mean that you have a big problem on your hands. You could also have a small problem. And the best part about calling USS is you're not going to get a sales guy with a quota showing up at your house. They have no problem telling you if it's something small, and they can come up with a custom plan for you if it's something big. If you have standing water in your basement, if you have wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, call United Structural Systems today. If you cringe and tense up every time it rains because you worry about your crawl space in your basement, call USS today. They have over 30,000 satisfied customers, and they've been doing this since 1994. They aren't going anywhere. 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. Online at USSTN.com.
All right, drivers, we have a 13-minute delay now if you're eastbound 24. This is because we have the right 2 lanes blocked there at Sam Ridley Parkway for some road work. Stop-and-go traffic starts at Old Hickory Boulevard. President Trump pausing federal loans and grants impacting trillions of dollars. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 26 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, betterwater.com. Text line and phone lines exploding because of RFK and the potential that his nomination is in jeopardy for director of HHS. I want RFK in there big time. And it seems like a majority of our listeners in what I believe is the most conservative state in the country want this, as the New York Post calls it, radical leftist lunatic to get this gig as well. And it seems to me that the common thread here is everybody thinks we're not getting the whole truth and nothing but the truth when it comes to the medical industrial complex. And everybody seems to have their own story and their own experience when it comes to the vaccine industry, the side effects, and more. And the phone lines have been absolutely jam-packed. Who's been on hold the longest? Is it Kimberly and Laverne? Let's go to Kimberly and Laverne real quick. Kimberly, you're up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Kim?
Good morning. I'm listening to you guys. And I'm so glad that you're saying something. I'm so glad you're putting it out there because I've run a daycare for 33 years. These parents come in here, and I have to explain to them what I see. I have your children 8 to 10 hours a day. I see what y'all don't. I explain to them by the time they get that 6-month shot, then all of a sudden there's an earache. And then all of a sudden there's antibiotics. And then all of a sudden it's bam, 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 more shots. And I tell them because – if you have to tell me you gotta have shots. I don't. I personally tell them it's your call. You don't have to come in here with it, but understand others do. Needless to say, the point is they get sick. It starts with the earache and it starts with the bowels, and you see a difference in it. And so then their gut's being attacked. Their gut is being attacked almost from day one, and I see it. By the 18th month shot, it's over. And then the parents can't even see me at Walmart because they didn't listen to me, and they're embarrassed and they blame themselves. And I just want to hug them and say, please don't.
Yep.
Let's detox them. Let's go over here to a functional doctor like Brian Foley. I go to him. If I didn't, I don't know how I'd feel today. You go in there, you detox those babies. Do not let them do what they're doing. I mean, I get it that you have to do certain things, but while they're babies, no. Wait till school.
Yeah.
Wait till it's school time
Well,
so that their brain barrier can grow and so that they can fight off whatever it is they need to. God made us this way. He didn't.
Amen.
We are God's children, and I pray for everybody, and my heart goes out to everybody. Don't do the shots till the babies are older.
Yeah, at the very least, space them out. I would recommend, and I'm not a doctor, but I do know that there are civilized countries out there like Japan that doesn't administer any vaccines until the baby's at least 2. You know?
I wouldn't even do it at 2. I say 5. If you have to. And no, we're not doing it. No, but I run this daycare, and my heart goes out to all these parents that feel like they have to. The doctor said, and I'm almost like, tell that doctor to kiss your foot.
Yep.
It's not happening.
I hear you, Kim.
You're not doing it.
I hear you, and I appreciate the call, and I appreciate you adding your experience to the conversation, and we'll take more of your calls on the way. But there is a level of parent guilt in a lot of these stories. And I mean, I don't think that's exclusive to this. Parents have guilt about numerous things. Make no mistake about it. But when I have friends, and I've quite a few who have similar stories. Everything was fine, and then this happened, and it's anecdotal. But there's that guilt, and it's like, no, don't do the guilt. Don't beat yourself up. It's tough, man. It's a tough situation to be in, and all the pressure in the world is up against you to do it as a parent. Make your own decisions and do your own research and talk to a doctor that you trust. That's my best advice. I got a text here from 7258. It says, I was vaccinated as a kid in 1998. I have Asperger's now. quality of life drastically goes down, and difficulty of a regular life goes way up with autism. If this could have all been prevented, I don't know how I would continue to live with myself. It's hard. These stories are heartbreaking, and when I tell you that the texts and the phone line are just jam-packed, they are. We'll continue this conversation on the other side with your phone calls and text messages at 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. President Trump pausing federal loans and grants, impacting trillions of dollars. The White House Office of Management and Budget says it's in place to conduct a review on federal aid, and the grants have already been awarded are on pause, too.
They have until 5 o'clock today to comply with this and then have to report back by February 10th. But because of how sweeping those executive actions are, it's really not clear what comes under this memo from OMB. And the order is not specific, but it does cite foreign aid, NGOs that do work with foreign aid, diversity, equity, inclusion, and the Green New Deal.
It's Karen Travers at the White House. Tell your family and friends if they bought broccoli florets from Walmart. The Food and Drug Administration has escalated a recall to the highest level after the product was found to be contaminated with listeria, and it could kill anyone who consumes it. This is the 10-ounce bags of market-side broccoli florets by Braga Fresh, sold at Walmarts in Kentucky, Arkansas, and 18 other states. Gaza update, Jordana Miller reporting from Jerusalem.
More than 200,000 Palestinians returning to northern Gaza after being driven out by the Israeli army more than a year ago at the start of the war. Many coming back with mixed emotions. There's triumph, but also loss. Many finding bombed out buildings and rubble where their homes once stood. A lifetime of belongings now buried. Many will be forced now to live in tents until rebuilding starts, and that won't be for several months in the best of scenarios.
Egypt and Jordan swiftly rejecting President Trump's suggestion that they take in Palestinians, part of what he called cleaning out Gaza. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly. who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 11:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, betterwater.com for your water filtration system. We were talking about the RFK confirmation hearing, and it kind of spun us into the topic of vaccines in general. RFK's confirmation hearing is happening very soon.
I started working in the early 60s.
It's kicking off tomorrow and Thursday. It's going to be must-see TV. Both the left and the right are painting him as a radical leftist lunatic who wants to hurt your kids. And I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. And I'm reading your text messages and taking your phone calls at 615-737-9986. And I got a text here from Alan. It says, I was born in 1964. Joined the Marines in 1984. I've had about every vaccine there is, including the Moderna shot. I'm just fine and have only been sick twice since 1993. That's awesome. I'm not discounting that some people can take these vaccines and be totally fine. My issue is with the rates at which we're seeing autism increase, the lack of transparency, the lack of questions we're able to ask, and the just surplus of story after story after story of people saying this is what injured my kid. And then you look at the amount of vaccines. So if you joined the Marines in 1984, Alan, your vaccine schedule is much different than the vaccine schedule they want a young baby to start in America today. Drastically different. Like 7 times the amount
offer
of
is the
vaccines
easiest way
before
to
they
sell
turn
your home.
18.
It's really
And I'm not discounting your story whatsoever, but I think that goes into a lot of the narrative here. Oh, I got these as a kid and I turned out fine. What's the big deal? I think the difference is the schedule has increased just drastically, and we're not allowed to ask any questions as to why. And the vaccine manufacturers don't have any liability. So it's a product that you can push out, and if it gets added to the schedule, well, I mean, that's a big moneymaker. So people obviously wonder, is it about the money or is it about the health and safety? And then you hear these stories that these callers are sharing, and my friends have these stories as well. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Like I said, I had a good friend. He's since passed away, but they had a great, healthy, beautiful baby boy, smiling, talking, having fun, playing, and they go in for that wellness visit, and then the smiles stop, the words ceased, and it was autism. I don't know if there's correlation. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not. But I want to be able to ask the questions in this country, and I want somebody in charge of the HHS that isn't beholden to the pharmaceutical companies. I want a guy like RFK in there, and I want a guy that's going to push for real change in this industry. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't. Let's go to Clay in Nashville. You're up first on Super Talk. What's up, Clay?
Clay, I'm sorry. I'll try to be brief. My daughter is 18 years old. My wife and I plan to have this child We had all the blood tests, blood work, make sure everything's fine. We don't have hepatitis, venereal disease, all that kind of stuff. When our daughter was born, the day she was born, just a couple of hours, the nurse practitioner in the delivery room wanted to have me sign a permission slip to give my daughter a hepatitis shot. I knew that we did not have hepatitis. I asked the question, how could she possibly need it right now, and refused to sign it. My wife is Hispanic. She doesn't read English very well. And when I got the bill from the hospital, instead of just paying it, I wanted to see an itemized list of all the things that I'm being charged for, me and my insurance company, because my insurance company has a direct effect on my premiums I pay.
Yep.
So when I got the bill, there was a hepatitis shot being charged for like $400. So I wanted to know, how did this get in here? I've refused to sign that permission slip. And why did you need a permission slip for just that one shot? Among all the things that you were doing that day, you asked for permission just to give that one shot. So they produced the permission slip, and I saw that they stuck it in front of my wife, who was not in a position who would understand these things, and signed it. And, that's when the crap hit the fan. And threatened to sue them. Didn't. All they did was take off the $400. And just thought your listeners who have children, don't just pay the bill. Go get the itemized bill, look at it, and see what they've done.
Hey, I appreciate the tip, Clay. That's a crazy story, man. Let's go to Kevin in Hermitage up next on Super Talk. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Chris. This is probably a crazy call and I just want everyone to hear me out. I've known people in my life that have passed away from COVID-19, and they didn't do any drugs, they didn't drink, they didn't smoke, and they didn't do anything. And it's been very unfortunate for them. And I just wanted to say, I've done a lot of stuff, back in the days of, going to see rock and roll concerts with sex, drugs, and rock and roll and everything. Maybe my immune system had cause for me to, but I don't do drugs. I don't do anything. And I never got COVID. And, but I've known people that, were like Phil Valentine, Phil, he was hooked up to the machine, and we were praying for him. And, my mom's husband passed away, and it's been very unfortunate, but, I don't know what else to tell you about it. But, I know the vaccines. My wife and I refused to take the vaccines, and we didn't. And I never got COVID. I didn't. And I just wanted to give you a heads up on, some straight guy who wants to tell everybody else, if you want to get the vaccine, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not advocating against you not doing something. I appreciate the call, Kevin. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get it. I'm saying that you should be able to do your own research, and I'm thinking that the research that we get needs to be influenced by actual data and actual doctors, not people that are beholden to the pharmaceutical industries, not people that are making a lot of money off this stuff, a la Dr. Fauci. That's where I'm at on it. Let's go to Sharon in the borough next on Super Talk. Sharon, you're next. What's going on?
Hi, Chris. I'm so grateful you're talking about this today. Well, you could talk about it more often as far as I'm concerned, but I'm very excited about RFK, what he's going to be doing with this. Now, I don't agree with him on a lot of other things, but I'm very excited about him taking on the pharmaceuticals and the vaccines. I think this is long overdue. But also, I hope he gets into the medicine side too, because I've been injured by medications, and some of those are just as bad or worse than the vaccine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. In fact, I have questions about Ozempic big time, and I appreciate the call, Sharon. There's a singer by the name of Avery. I don't know the singer. I've never heard her music. Maybe she's big, maybe she's not. But this video has been going viral, and Colin Roog posted this on X. It's this singer who revealed that she was taking Ozempic for about a year, and she's posting this video online now, begging her followers not to take this drug because she says that she was taking it to lose weight and it led to her getting osteoporosis.
I just left the doctor's office. I went to get a checkup because I've been off of Ozempic for 2 months now, and I just wanted to see if my body was in better condition, if there were any permanent damages. Kind of in shock right now because I wasn't expecting this, but I guess Ozempic can cause bone density loss, and I didn't think that that would happen to me because I was only on it for a year. But I have significant bone loss. I have osteoporosis and osteopenia, so that I don't know, there's like several of them that I have. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what happens if you use Ozempic for weight loss and you lose too much weight.
I mean, it's heartbreaking, but I think there's a lot of medications that we need to look at. You know, you see the ads on TV. I think that's something else that we need to stop. I don't think pharmaceutical companies should be allowed to advertise on TV. We're one of the only countries in the world that allows that to happen. But you see the ads on TV and people are dancing, and, oh, I'm on Manjaro now, and I'm looking good. And this is the reality of some of this stuff after the fact, a year down the road. And I worry about the unintended consequences of these drugs that they're pushing as miracle drugs. I worry that the safety studies weren't exactly safety studies. They were rushed through to get it to market, to make some money, because I think a lot of these studies are paid for by these pharmaceutical industries. They want to make money. They want to make money. They don't care about your health. I fully believe that. They just don't care about you. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I am open to accepting new evidence that will change my mind. But I want to have the conversation. And it seems like that conversation has been limited for years now. Let's go to Bobby in Nashville. Last call, and then we'll go on to talk with Chad. What's up, Bobby?
Chris, thanks for taking my call, man. Like always, you guys do a fabulous job. But, hey, if a lot of people want to lose weight, I'm one of them that's went through this. Lay off the sodas, man. Lay off the sugar. I mean, I got a niece that's on diabetic medicine, but she takes the medicine because she's a diabetic.
Yeah.
And but what I want to run through you right quick about the COVID shot. If you want the COVID shot, that's your prerogative or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, get it if you want it.
I'm not cutting anybody for that, but I want to thank Donald Trump for getting the military back in there, getting
Amen.
back pay and all of that for the ones that was fired, and I'm a
Yes.
big military supporter. And another quick thing I want to run by you, I was at a doctor's office 2 years ago. An old fella came in. I was in there getting a regular checkup. He was, I think at the time, 80-year-old. He took the coronavirus shot, and, man, he came in, and he was raising all kind of cane. Like I said, he was an old Army vet. He said, they asked him, they said, hey, Mr. So-and-so, are you ready for your second vaccination? And he had a few choice words for the nurse, which it wasn't her fault, but he said, no, I'm not taking that shot. He said, I was in good shape before I actually took the first shot. And, I mean, he was naming off all kind of things that had been going wrong with him, with his body and everything. So I just wanted to get that out, brother. Hey, I appreciate the job you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Hey, I appreciate you, Bobby. Thanks for listening, man, and thanks for your input. We appreciate all the callers on the show adding their flavor to it. I love when we crowdsource this kind of information. I think that, like herd immunity is a big thing. I think that crowd knowledge is a big thing, too. And Bobby brought up a big point that I did want to get to today. Trump has reinstated over 8,000 military members fired over the COVID-19 vax mandates. He's going to get them back pay, which is huge. I think that 8,000 number is low. I do. I know friends personally that chose not to re-enlist because of the mandates. They kicked the can down the road as long as they could. And when it came time to re-enlist, they said, nope, I'm out. One of my good friends in Arizona was in the Air Force, pretty high up, and he's like, no, I'm not re-enlisting. So I think that number, 8,000 members of the military who were discharged for not taking the COVID-19 vax, I'd argue that that's criminally low, and I'd want to know how many didn't re-enlist because of the COVID-19 vax mandates. Trump is doing a lot of stuff to fix the military, getting the woke crap out, as he puts it, and we'll cover that a little bit more tomorrow. I wanted to talk about the executive order about the trans service members, and that'll definitely be first on the list tomorrow. I know we got a lot of vets in the community that will be able to have some input on that conversation as well. So looking forward to that, and we'll check in with Chad Benson when we return right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand, and when I go to train and fire my weapons, I do it at the Glock store. The Glock store is incredible. It is different than any other gun store you've ever been in, and their ranges are unbelievable. It's not a lane range. It's a private shooting room with a personal instructor. You'll actually shoot less and learn more every single time. I'm itching to get back in there, and I try to go monthly. That's my thing, and I should be going more. You should be going more too. And when you train, you should train in the Shoot 270 indoor rooms. Book your session today at shoot270.com. And when you get there, mention my name, Chris Hand, and they'll let you shoot an H&K suppressed MP5 fully auto for free, just by saying you heard it on the Chris Hand Show. Heck of a deal, heck of a place to shoot. The Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. Book your session online right now, shoot270.com. It is 11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Chad Benson in studio. We were just talking about seeing gunfights in person.
Yes. But as a kid, more than a few drive-bys at our junior high. But, you know, it's, again, somewhere along the line, young men in particular decided the best way to do to fix a problem anymore is to shoot at each other rather than go, you know what, I'll meet you outside. When I was a kid, it's like, we'll meet you behind we had the Zodies or whatever, before Target was there. We'll meet you over there at, Woolworths, and we'll fight afterwards.
Yeah.
And we move on with our lives.
Make fist fighting great again.
That's it.
Like, we used to be a proper society.
Yeah, you go down, you throw down, and you didn't beat anybody. Once they're on the ground, it was over, and we moved on with our lives.
Yeah.
That was it.
I lived in Richmond, and I was just telling Chad this story off air, but we were in a dicey neighborhood because that was my comfort zone at the time. And we saw a group of youths come around one corner and a group of youths come around another corner. And as they got closer, they start jarring and, talking trash. And then we're outside, and it's like late Saturday night, and we're drinking and, we're smoking on the porch and just all the things. And I went, he's going for a waistband, get inside. And then it's Boondock Saints as soon as we get inside.
Just back and forth.
Boom, boom,
Probably
boom, boom,
nobody
boom.
was hit, but somebody did get hit. Usually it's always in the house that has they're sleeping and they get shot in the leg or some kid gets killed.
My roommate said, he peeks out the window. Are they gone? Let's see if one of these knuckleheads hit my car.
Because they're not
aiming.
They're not aiming. They're just turning their heads and firing.
Pray and spray.
Yeah, that's it. That's
insane.
Absolutely it. It's insane.
Yeah. What do you got coming up on the show today? What are the biggest stories that you're focused on?
No, we're going to talk about DeepSeek because that is a big deal, the way that came out yesterday. And how much do we really believe that this new AI that they came up with that cost $5 million, and uses virtually no chips compared to everybody else? How magical is it? Because it's already crashed. So that's one of the things.
Didn't they say it doesn't need an internet connection?
Well, it doesn't need what ChatGPT and a lot of these other ones, because they're large language models, so they're pulling from everywhere. This is a different kind of model that they're using, which essentially goes to ChatGPT and will go, hey, this person has a question, give me the answer, and I'll go tell them. So it's neat, but without the other stuff, it wouldn't, there wouldn't be. But the freak out yesterday in Wall Street was real because NVIDIA lost $600 billion in it's the biggest loss in the history of business in a day.
It's wild.
Crazy. So we're talking about that. Obviously, immigration, the insanity of the Catholic Church, right?
I can't. It blows my mind, the Catholic Church. Yeah. Did you see the video that they put out?
Yeah, I got great.
The Catholic refugee program.
You weren't saying, hey, kids, when the priest comes in, altar boy, and he says, don't tell your parents, maybe you should run.
I was in Boston when that scandal broke out. I was about to be confirmed. And that's what made me run away from the church for years. I said, "This is who you want me to line up with. Yeah. I'm not doing it."
Because you guys lied about it for centuries, but you not only lied about it, you just moved people around.
Yeah.
You're like, well, Father Touchy McFeely hasn't done anything over here, so let's send him over there.
And now they're worried about the refugees because that's a big part of their budget.
Yeah. Well, of course it is. Of course it is.
Which is insane.
And the other thing is, too, a lot of people are Catholic who come here from different countries, and you don't want to lose your congregation.
Yeah. And I'm not knocking Catholics. There are a lot of good Catholics.
Yeah, it's not your fault the church was the way it was.
It's the leadership.
Oh, 100%.
All right, looking forward to this conversation. Chad's in next. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
High noon, and I'm Ken Weaver.